I share what I'm listening to and my thoughts on music and the business daily for free at helloyassine.com. What's poppin', y'all? Trap Lord Ross caused a bit of a stink in the UK world, in particular the US-UK relations, because Central C dropped this album, which Trap Lord Ross gave great praise to. I haven't listened to the album. A good friend of mine actually told me it's one of the best albums that he's heard this year, so I'm gonna have to check that out. I may check it out on stream. It would be on Twitch, but I don't know. We'll see about that. The replay would be on Patreon, though. With that being said, Trap Lord Ross gets into it with one of these people that was contributing to Central C's career at a certain point. So I'm going to play you guys the initial clip that started it all, which was this post-delete. And it was 6ix9ine AI'd onto Central C's face by Trap Lord Ross, and it says, "What's your definition of real?"
Okay, so I made this post on Instagram. This was a little post and delete. It was always planned to be a post and delete. This was a little promo. I thought, I'll chuck this up for the day of the release, just for a bit of fun, to amuse myself. This is a artificial intelligence generated photograph. It's not a real photograph. I know some people might look at it and think that must be real. Must be. But no, this is an AI picture of Central C with 6ix9ine's face tattoos surrounded by London goons, UK drillers, right? And I've left the caption, "What's your definition of real?" as a reference to the song Must Be on the album. Excellent song, excellent album, okay? Look at this picture. That is funny. I don't care what anyone has to say. That is funny.
And then this woman that worked for Sony commented on it, and Trap Lord Ross gives his thoughts. So Trap Lord Ross replies, and he says, "None of that energy for the guy getting rich off convincing kids that gangbanging and carrying knives and guns is cool with his music. All the smoke for a journalist talking about it. Makes sense." And then she replies, "You're not a journalist, you are a weirdo, and all of the people on the internet like you." Now, I cannot stand individuals like this. Number one, off rip, we got to get this straight. This gang stuff, this hip-hop gang stuff, whatever influence it has, it's American. It is American. So the fact that this lady is Jamaican British, so she has no ties to America, maybe like family here or something like that. So she's Jamaican British. She's working as a record label. She signed this guy, whatever the case may be. And she's talking about Trap Lord Ross not being from something when all the gang stuff that's going on in the UK was influenced by American culture. So if she's trying to play this outsider game, then she's an outsider as well. But it's easier to tack it on Trap Lord Ross because he's a white guy and she's Jamaican, so she's black. But there is a distinction. Like, for example, some guy that's in the Congo, right? He's black, of course, but he's not from hip hop culture. He may have not ever heard hip hop music in his life because it's an American thing. So this is an important distinction to make. And I think it erases some history when people that weren't the founders of hip hop try to attach themselves and cast other people as outsiders when it's beneficial to them. Because you're not going to get somebody that grew up in, like, for example, dance hall is some Jamaican stuff. You're not going to get some person that's, let's just say, let's use FBA for lack of a better term, right? Let's say someone FBA from New Orleans, Louisiana. Let's say Young Boy's lineage, right? Nobody there is going to say, yeah, we're part of dance hall. They're not Jamaican. Yet this lady, she probably messes with dancehall and says she's dancehall and then tries to throw it on Trap Lord Ross. So I really don't like that. And I think Trap Lord Ross is right here. Well, for sure he's right. However, I will say that this does have a negative impact on Central C's career, and I understand why they're upset. Now, the fact that they try to paint him as doing something negative or whatever, they should just say that it hurts their business. And I don't know if this lady still has business or still stands to benefit from anything that Central C generates in the future. If she does, I understand why she's upset. If she doesn't, then there's nothing to be upset about here, because Trap Lord Ross did say it's a great album, but people in the United States, they look to Trap Lord Ross as, hey, you're going to let us know if this is cap or not, especially because you're from the UK. And people just believe Central C because it's harder to verify things in the UK, and people don't care that much. So they're, okay, this guy's around Lil Baby, this guy's dropping tracks with 21 Savage, and he seems like he's about it. We hear some crazy stuff, and this is the thing. These crazy guys in the UK that's doing all them stabbing and all that gang stuff, they built the foundation for Americans to believe, okay, the UK, they're kind of getting down. They're poking each other up. Canada, I don't think they've developed that reputation for the US or to the US audience yet. You've got crash outs like Top 5, of course. But even Pressa, who's verifiably done some quite heinous things, people just don't want to believe it in America. And there isn't enough of that scene, despite how, unfortunately, it's because many people died that were popular in Toronto. So Canada doesn't have that reputation. I would say London in particular has developed that for America, but they're just going to cast Central C and be like, okay, seems like he's like that. But when Trap Lil Ross comes out and documents, oh, no, this guy's actually not like that, and he's actually similar to 6ix9ine, not in the sense that he told or anything, but in the comparison that he adopted this imagery later on in his career because it was going to benefit him, and someone financed this push, and it performed well. That loses a lot of luster and perception and brand value for the American audience. They're not going to be like, oh, okay, that's great music, because there is plenty of great music by actual rappers in the streets that are rapping about what Central C talks about. There's no shortage of that in America. Now, Central C, he may make better music than them, but you got to take into consideration, people will always rather hear someone that's maybe like a point or two less skilled, less talented, but is more relatable to them. So, for instance, there can be an outstanding rapper in Japanese, right? And he's rapping in Japanese, but that's so far removed. And he's making great music from a rapper that's in America that's making decent music. So you're most likely going to listen to the American. It's why many people in other countries listen to rappers of their language. Now, language and accent or region are different, of course, but I'm specifically talking about America, where it's difficult for people to adopt someone else. So I think these people are looking at it like, damn, we put so much effort to break Central C. And I would say he's the first artist to break into America since Skepta, which was 10 years ago. Not even the guy that had the Vossi Bop song. I'm forgetting his name. That just goes to show, like, I knew who he was, but he wasn't able to break through. So Skepta, and that was with the aid of A$AP Mob, Ian Connor, of course, A$AP Bari initially. They were the first ones to collaborate. So Central C is the first one to do that, and they're looking at it like Trap Lil Ross just took a sledgehammer to their operation to transition him over, and I can't blame him. I still have to watch that documentary on Central C. It's a long one, man. This Trap Lil Ross be dropping these long videos, and it just deters me from watching them because I'm like, man, I got to sit down for it, so let me set the time aside. I'm not going to get into my own personal viewing habits. But he also faked being independent for a minute, because we were hearing, oh, nah, Central C's independent and Doja was going crazy, and then he has these other songs, and it was fishy to me. And I actually met Central C, funny enough. I don't think he knows that he met me, but I met him when I was out in LA one time. Cool guy. And people have been telling me that he's not really what he's portraying. Like, my homies in the UK were telling me that, and they were telling me about Digga D. I know a guy that's made stuff with Digga D, and that guy's pretty good. Actually, his management's cool people too, Digga D's management. And it's a story that needed to be told. It's just journalistic stuff, and journalists are always going to get somebody mad. But Central C, I don't think he has anything to worry about. Once you've reached escape velocity as a rapper, you're good to go. I mean, it's going to hurt him for a bit, and some people are going to think a certain way about him, but if somebody already liked Central C's music, they're not going to stop liking it now. However, people that watch this video that have never listened to Central C are going to be deterred from listening to him because of the video. And I'm not saying that's Trap Lil Ross's intention, but I think that's the frustration that they feel because Trap Lil Ross has such a strong pull within the American hip-hop market. But that's just how I see the situation. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. Like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Go to helloyassine.com. See you next time. Thank you for watching. Peace.